Welcome to the Block Exploring Podcast, your first step into the world of crypto and blockchain. The Block Exploring Podcast is your one-stop place to find quick, clear, and unbiased information on everything in the crypto space. Our goal is to help you grow familiar with the crypto space by growing along with us as we go on our crypto journeys. Follow at Block Exploring on Twitter for our newest uploads and our publishing schedule. We, here at Block Exploring, are crypto enthusiasts working hard towards becoming experts. Today's podcast is presented by co-hosts Tommy and Elias. Find us on Twitter under @SabaiSquared and @OtokoCrypto. Right now you can find us on Spotify and YouTube. Before we start the episode, we would like to inform you that we are not financial advisors. Therefore, nothing said in this podcast should be considered financial advice. Always contact your financial advisor before making any investment. With that said, sit back and enjoy today's podcast. What's up, Block Explorers? Welcome to episode 7 of News Bytes. Today we're going to be talking about the crash and the rebound that happened this week. We're going to be talking about the green, clean Bitcoin, and we'll be talking to you about the Pancake Bunny exploit that was found this week. Now, let's kick it off and talk about this crash. Tommy, how did you experience it?
Yeah, I mean, this is as wild as it gets, right? The wild it's been for, last couple of months we saw like an over 50% dip for most coins and tokens, Bitcoin, ETH, they went, and then everyone went with them. So I think that shows at least, Bitcoin sort of still rules the market. There's no like decoupling between Bitcoin and altcoins at all. Like Bitcoin will always is another question, but for now at least it's king. And yeah, there was a massive dip, and I think this all sort of occurred due to the accumulation of a lot of FUD, because we've just been having a lot of negative things happening in the crypto space, I suppose, and just all of that just led to a lot of uncertainty, which was probably triggered by something, and then boom, everyone's portfolio looked red.
It's true. It's been a while since my portfolio went minus 1/3 in like the span of a few hours, but I think I was looking at like what caused this exactly, and there was the accusation of there being market manipulation with whales, kind of dumping and pumping Bitcoin, and like through this negatively affecting the price, and at the same time making as much profit as they could themselves. And then on the second part, there was this, I read it's like a blog post of this guy, culmination of kind of the perfect storm scenario where a use of Bitcoin was stripped away, a major use that was like in high publicity. So the acceptance of Tesla in using Bitcoin, and then mainstream critique that was revisited. So the energy costs and non-eco-friendliness of Bitcoin. And then additionally, the negative results of a very mainstream, well-known coin like Dogecoin. And this all kind of culminated together after Dogecoin got dumped. And then with this kind of like will manipulation and aggressively shorting of Bitcoin, the price plummeted. And I think that it's not, you can't really pinpoint one thing. You can say, that's something you hear a lot, like, oh, Tesla and Elon, they're the people, or they're the two major parties that are right now dictating the price of Bitcoin. But I don't think that it's a fair statement. I think it was really the combination of all three.
China also threatened a ban as well, as they do, every half a year or something. So a lot of FUD.
And I think that this kind of like the combination of all four, the China ban of the refusal to accept crypto as a payment mechanism, all of this kind of created a very negative long-term vision for Bitcoin, or for the crypto space in general for a minute there, especially for all the new money that got into the crypto game. And I think that that's kind of what all this is based on. And I think that's why we've, and at some point a correction was bound to happen, but this correction was quite severe.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest one we've seen in quite some time, and like you said, it's like a perfect storm. And I mean, this is probably caused by just a lot of things working in tandem with each other, because what whales tend to do is use negative news to cause a lot more uncertainty in the market. So when negative news is released, whales would then also dump, which will further increase the uncertainty in the market, which leads to a bigger dump for them to then be able to buy back in at a nicer buying price for themselves. And so it really works in tandem with each other. And it goes back to this thing I think we've been reiterating in several podcast episodes, which is try not to be a pawn. Don't be a pawn to like these big players. I mean, of course it's very hard, like especially for new investors, I'm sure, like who've not experienced such a dip yet. I think if you survive this 50% dip and you're in, like you've been initiated into crypto. It's not for me to initiate you, but the market has initiated you, and now you're probably one layer more callous for it.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely one of those moments that kind of seasons you into dealing with these kinds of dips. But I agree, and also I think it's especially for your short-term investments that this crash was a big deal.
Right.
I have a portfolio that I traded kind of aggressively, and it's all short-term positions that I took. And the moment I saw Bitcoin crash over 30%, I liquidated it all, because I knew if this thing dips more, I'll be holding this for a very long time, and that was never my plan.
Right.
But my long-term positions, I just kept in, because long-term is not a few months. Long-term is a few years in crypto, and a crash like this corrects. At least in half a year, we'll be back to where we were. That's like that's a very conservative estimate, I would say,
right?
Because we're back up already quite a substantial amount. I think we're up 20% compared to the bottom of the dip.
Yeah, and the bottom of the dip was like where we were at 45 days ago. And if you think about it that way, like, damn, we're ungrateful. 45
That's
days
true.
of gains erased. I mean, that's incomparable to the stock market. I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
We were just where we were at 45 days ago. And 45 days ago, we were super happy. I mean? So unless you recently bought in, which, then, okay, that's a bit sad.
That's sad.
Admittedly sad, but for people who've been holding for a bit longer, you were just back, where you were 45 days ago. But I think this crash really made a lot of people think about how they need to rethink their strategy about their portfolio management, or what is their end game, like what are their entry prices, what are their exit prices, and what are they actually trying to do in the market. Because you can very easily throw money in and see what happens, but that's also a very quick way to lose a lot of money, right? So it's really important you have a strategy which makes sense to you. I know I definitely had a rethink of my strategy, and this crash has really made me think about how when we are at all-time highs, we are making big runs, like how you need to shave off profits at the top. You don't have to eject your whole position, but just take a little bit off the top, so it a dip like this doesn't feel so bad, because you've already taken some profit at the top. So you actually you don't, it's not like you're all in and then you've dipped 50% and that's that's it, because I guess the aim is to be in crypto long term, and the way to do that is to manage risk and do such things as like shave profits off the top, dollar cost average in and out. I think people have been thinking about that.
And I think that I completely agree. I think also that this has been a bit of a sobering moment for a lot of people who have been making a lot of easy gains over the past few, weeks at least, where, it's very possible to just follow what the major influencers say and make decent profits. You don't have to be a genius to do that. It's just a bull market.
Yeah.
You buy the top 10 cryptos, you'll make money most likely in a bull market. And in a crashing scenario, every single influencer will be telling you something different. In the moment there's fear in the market, every single person will be saying, do this or do that. And I tweeted this, it's really the moment to look at your own portfolio, at your own goals, and decide based on that, rather on all the FUD that's going around, all the panic, and all the different sorts of advice that you get, because they're all based on the portfolios of these crypto influencers. They're not based on your portfolio. That's why it's not financial advice, because they don't know what your standing is. They don't know what your entry and exit points are.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important to do your own research and have conviction in what you are invested in. Because if you have conviction in the stuff you invested in, then it's really not that hard to hodl. Mm-hmm. It's really not that hard to have the bags that you have, because, for example, if you understand the long-term benefits of ETH and the long-term potential of ETH, for example, I don't think it's that hard and you understand the long-term price potential that it has, I don't think it's that hard to just sit tight, and ideally you should be in a place where these crashes really don't affect you that much, and you have an iron stomach about it, and you can make rational decisions when such things happen, and you stick to your plan. I mean, that's why you have a plan, right? So you're not panicking and losing it when something like this happens, like crypto Twitter just goes are headless when these things happen.
It goes insane.
It goes insane, but it's crazy because 45 days ago we're just at where we were 45 days ago, and 45 days ago we were fine. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's the 2 steps forwards, 1 step back kind of thing.
Exactly.
And
which
I
is
think
healthy.
Moments like this where I think moments like this where the opinion of one guy mean a lot, and where manipulation by a few major whales is still possible. It shows that you're early. So if your plan is a very long time, you'll be decent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and oh man, people just need to decide, like, what are they in the space in terms of like a day trader, swing trader, or long-term investor? Because if you're unclear about what you're doing, you're gonna be you're gonna be confused, and you're gonna make bad decisions. Because if you don't know and you're in between things, like that's not a way to be doing things. Being in between a swing trader and a long-term investor, it's very incompatible in terms of the mindset you have towards your investments. But
and it's possible to do both, but then just don't look at your long-term trades.
Exactly.
That's don't start swing trading your long terms, because that's that's not how they work.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. But we're on a recovery anyway, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully this isn't the start of a bear market. I doubt it. I really do doubt it. But
I doubt it.
The market humbles. I think that's what this crash is.
True.
The market humbles, and it is what it is.
And it's also one of the, it's a very large dip relative to other dips, but it's also one that has stabilized the most.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which means that there's pretty decent buy support right now, and a pretty good amount of, I think it's part of the fact that there's so much institutional investment going on.
Right.
It shows that there's a support of very long-term holders with the, a very long-term vision for their positions.
I know MicroStrategy just invested a couple mil, casual couple mil, into. I mean, they're dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, but for them, dollar cost averaging is like $1 million cost averaging, So
That's true.
Institutions are still in it, and whales are, doing their thing. Like I think we're still good for a bull market for a while, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
But big FUD
That's true.
that we've been experiencing is this energy discussion around Bitcoin. You know, Elon Musk's has been, you know, a bit sour with the Bitcoin community over environmental concerns. I think most people who aren't crypto natives who talk to me about Bitcoin
Yeah.
are very much concerned about the environmental aspects of, you know, of Bitcoin's mining.
Yeah, that's true. It's been called a dirty currency, right?
Mhm.
That's it's a bit sus, and now you have like organizations that have been accepting Bitcoin, like what is it,
Yeah,
Greenpeace,
Greenpeace.
that we're gonna talk about. They stopped taking donations in the form of Bitcoin because, well, proof of work, which we discussed in one of our episodes, you should definitely check it out,
Mm-hmm.
is proof of burning, as they say, right?
Right. And
And
there's just so much
well,
misinformation around this topic in general. But I think,
mhm,
yeah, okay, so Elon's a bit, he went ham about it on Twitter and like going back and forth with Bitcoin maxis about it. But in end of the day, like he does have a point. Like proof of work is not a sustainable way of consuming energy, or you know, it's not very, yeah, it's not very nice if you care about the environment, which I hope we all do,
mhm,
right? But we have to see that like a lot of miners are engaging with renewable energy sources. A high percentage are actually moving towards making mining clean Bitcoin, so to speak.
yeah,
But yeah, he's got a point. Like there's a large amount of miners who are using dirty energy, let's say, to
mhm,
mine Bitcoin, and it is something that in the long term needs to be addressed. But does that
of course.
mean that right now we need to have such a stark debate about it? Yes, it needs to be a debate, but to create such a FUD regarding Bitcoin is another question, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that there's a bit of a hypocrisy because,
Mm-hmm.
like organizations like Greenpeace, they've been accepting Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has been known. It's been this. I've been hearing news reports about this since like 2018. Oh, Bitcoin, it's costing more and more energy since that last
Mm-hmm.
halving, and it only will get more dire or like the effects will be way more adverse for the environment.
Mm-hmm.
The more Bitcoin halves, because it will,
Right.
per Bitcoin mined, the environment will get damaged more.
Right.
But then they knew this
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, and only when it becomes a bit of a public, like there's a public rally about it, then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden we stop accepting it as donations. But what do we still accept? Well, fiat currency donated via traditional banking. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you think traditional banking runs on? Like all
Nothing.
eco-friendly
Yeah,
sources,
exactly.
it runs on the exact same energy as Bitcoin,
Yep.
and it's worse because it has a way higher market cap sometimes.
Exactly.
So
No, that's so true. Like,
yeah,
but that's not what people consider, right? They just, I don't know. People don't have a real perception of what their money is. A very intangible thing for people at times. To really understand what's going on with that. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of Bitcoin moving to clean energy, I think it needs to be regulated for miners to be forced to actually, mine using renewable energy. Because as
yeah,
long as you're able to mine Bitcoin with, let's say, dirty energy, and someone needs to feed their family, and they're gonna find a way to mine Bitcoin using whatever energy they can, in order
yeah,
to make the money. So I think it needs to be. I mean, I don't know if this is the solution, or I don't know if this is where the direction is moving in. I don't know if miners are voluntarily moving towards using renewable energy and what the hurdles are for that. But it's
well,
not. I don't think
from
it's
what I
that
hear,
easy. Like it's not that
no,
easy.
no, that's true.
Like otherwise, people
I
would
think
do it. I think. I mean, if they're not incentivized to do it, I don't think people would do it. If they're not being forced to
yeah.
do it, I don't think people would be doing it. But yeah.
Mm. No, I do think a more serious incentive is needed for Bitcoin miners who can, well, mine for with dirty energy or with non eco-friendly energy to move to sustainable ways. But one of the ways that I see that this is achieved is just the fact that mining Bitcoin becomes way more expensive, and at some point, which has already been passed a long time ago, mining Bitcoin with a traditional computer or in a very small capacity like the average Bitcoin miner does is not cost effective. So the costs of the energy that you're paying are higher than the amount of Bitcoin that you're currently mining. That means that it doesn't really add up.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to mine Bitcoin if you're paying for energy at a regular rate.
Yeah.
Unless you have like a Venezuela who says free energy for everyone and you can mine for free.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to mine Bitcoin at all, especially not in 2021 as an individual or as like your run-of-the-mill miner.
Right.
What does make sense is to become a bit independent on your energy supply in a way that is like renewable without having to pay a constant fee, but paying, for instance, for a few solar panels and attaching this to your mining rig. That makes sense because at a certain point there's a high initial purchasing value because you have to pay for the solar panels, you have to pay for a battery.
I mean, a rig
like
costs
that.
a lot of money to begin with. Like, I've been watching some videos of people setting up rigs. They cost a lot. I mean, like, it depends, but it costs a substantial amount, to get started.
No.
I think.
Because you need some good ass processors. You need some.
You might as well throw in
everything.
some, solar panels. Throw in a windmill.
Exactly. And it makes sense because after a while you'll have a return on investment that's like nice.
Yeah, exactly.
But it takes a long time. And if you don't have to pay a continuous fee, almost like a subscription to mining Bitcoin, that is higher than what the amount of Bitcoin you get at that point of time, of course. It makes a lot of sense to move to a more sustainable, also financially sustainable way of mining Bitcoin.
Right. I mean, I think we're both on the same page in terms of like our view that, there is an issue. Like, it's not like, maxis will say whatever, but there is a problem. Like, it's not cool that there's, this environmental negative externality as a result of mining, a Bitcoin. So I think we both want to see it move into a cleaner direction. It's gonna be a hurdle. Like, it's just not gonna. I think we both think like it's not gonna be that easy, but we definitely want to see it go in that direction because we want to see more adoption across the board in terms of, crypto adoption across the board, whether it's Bitcoin or any other currency. And I don't think we both want to see things like Greenpeace not being able to accept Bitcoin anymore, or Tesla not accepting Bitcoin, or whoever else in future might decide not to accept Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is just the start,
Yeah.
But, maybe this allows institutions, companies, or whoever to look more into proof of stake, alternatives.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Or re-embrace Bitcoin after it becomes more eco-friendly,
exactly,
like Kathy would say.
Yeah, Kathy would.
It's interesting. It's interesting the point of view that Tesla took because their energy is also not all renewable.
Exactly.
The energy they use to charge their cars, the energy used to create their cars, batteries, it's not as renewable as they want you to believe. It's not like it came straight from the tree.
Man's private jets. We audit that energy usage. Someone
Exactly.
get on that. Well, I mean, yeah, he's already gotten such a bashing on Twitter. He doesn't need any more on this podcast.
He doesn't need it.
Well, I mean, Kathy Wood thinks he's gonna come back to the green Bitcoin side once it is a green Bitcoin side.
True.
She also believes Bitcoin will rally to $500,000. So that's fantastic.
I hope so.
That's fantastic.
I hope so. And to be honest, I think it's possible. I've heard people say that in like 20 years, Bitcoin's going to be 1 million per Bitcoin because
imagine that
it will be so hard to get.
Yeah, and people will be kicking themselves, because so many people are telling me about how oh, the ship sailed. I'm just like, oh no. You know, people will
I
always be
saw,
there to say that ship has sailed, and then it's gonna be a mill, and they're gonna legit
yeah,
be crying.
people have always been saying that it's too late to get into crypto.
Yeah.
You can even see there's an article by MarketWatch. MarketWatch is if you trade in stocks, that's what you read, I feel. And there's a picture of the it's I don't know, it's an interesting article, it's an interesting title. The title is "Why is Crypto Crashing? Will Bitcoin Prices Ever Recover?" And it's a picture of the doctor from the Thor movie. I don't know his name, with a lot of complex algebra behind him. And I think this kind of attitude, it really shows like that whoever wrote it, or at least whoever visually designed the article, doesn't really know what they're talking about.
Just FUD.
Yeah.
It's all FUD. Yeah, but yeah, I think there's also somewhere like a count of how many times Bitcoin has been declared dead.
Yeah.
It just keeps increasing for whatever reason. But it is what it is. But in I guess very negative news in the DeFi space, there's a DeFi protocol called Pancake Bunny on the Binance Smart Chain, and they got hacked, and this hacker siphoned off $45 million, and the token price crashed like 90%. Yeah, it's brutal for Pancake Bunny holders, which I'm not not part of this crew, but very sad. I feel for you Pancake Bunny holders and the protocol, the team behind this, because this is just not what you want,
No, exactly, but it's actually quite unfortunate. There's a guy who came out on Medium. He wrote an article in CoinMonks. CoinMonks is a very good source, I believe, when you want to read up on more technical aspects and more kind of concrete aspect of researching crypto and how the more expert user base feels about certain cryptos. And he came out and he stated with proof that he had been writing to the moderators of the Pancake Bunny Discord group on how there was this exploit, and he never got any replies. And he's very he also partook in the exploit because he saw it, but he said it was also a failure in the adaptability of the moderators and how they actually dealt with this issue and engaged with their community.
Right.
So I believe if there's anything to be learned, listen to your community. If you're a developer, make sure you have a really good concrete interaction with your community, because these kinds of things, there's always good guys who will be honest and show up and tell you.
There are people invested in your protocol as well, like the dev. Your community is also invested in the success of your protocol. So listen.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But 45 mil, my goodness, that's ridiculous. And it just shows you
to come back from that.
That is, but I think Pancake Bunny does have a strong community though. And I think I saw them release today, so from now on, or something along those lines, like a Medium article, so where do we go on from here type article. But it just shows you the importance of just having solid code, solid smart contract, and it's probably can never be perfect, of course, but you just that's why these projects need to get their code audited. That's why developers are so careful about what they're gonna put out, because if this happens, and this is crazy. So many people lost so much money, and there's no one to really hold accountable. And that's also part of the risk of DeFi. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And crypto in general, but
especially in its early phase.
Exactly, and that's why people really need to research these teams of these protocols that they are putting their money into, because the team sort of literally makes the project. literally makes the project. And yeah, a small mistake, can lose 45 million. But not to like hate on Pancake Bunny a lot, but I really hope they get back from this, because that would just suck. If this would cause the death of Pancake Bunny, so to speak. I mean, ETH got hacked ages ago, and they're still here. So I have faith if they have a strong community. Pancake Bunny, I hope no one, no one's too salty, but I would be hella salty.
I think it's going to recover. There have been things like Ethereum Classic. They've had like 51% attacks over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And they still had a recent like major boost in price. It's more how the team reacts to this and how they move on from this that will decide the future and the viability of the project.
Yeah, no,
I think
definitely.
So yeah,
sort out Pancake Bunny, but yeah, that's an L. Come on, big L. You got to deal with. Well, I think that's us for this week. That was a roller coaster of a week, but some exciting debates. The crypto journey continues.
Like it always does. Yes. So for this week, keep block exploring and have a nice rest of the week.
Take it easy.